saintly persons are all seeking Krishna. But by following in the footsteps of devotees who are in a direct relationship with Krishna, especially the inhabitants of Vrindavana, one can reach the supreme position of associating with Krishna. So, if we have an attachment to being elevated to the demigod planets, trying to merge into the Brahman effulgence coming from the body of Krishna, or developing tremendous mystical powers like Durvasa Muni and other great yogis, then we will not be able to understand Krishna, because there's some material attachment. It's only by pure bhakti, pure devotional service with no material motive that we can reach Krishna. These other things, karma, jnana, yoga, have a residue of material desire. Therefore, they are not accepted. And Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. He explains these different paths, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and Astanga yoga, or mystical yoga. And he tells Arjuna, yoginam apisarvesam madhyanantaratmana shadamam bhajate yomam samyutam matak. And of all the yogis, Arjuna, he who abides by me, always thinking of me, serving me, worshipping me, he is the greatest of all yogis. So although he explains all the different types of yoga, he focuses on bhakti yoga as being the supreme yoga and the only path by which he can be reached. As it is said, Vrindavanam parityajya padamekam nagacchati. Krishna does not leave Vrindavan even for a moment. The Vrindavana-vasis, or the inhabitants of Vrindavan, like Mother Yasoda, Krishna's friends, and Krishna's conjugal lovers, the younger gopis with whom he dances, have very intimate relationships with Krishna, and if one follows in the footsteps of these devotees, Krishna is available. In other words, one can reach Krishna in the spiritual world. Although the Nitya Siddha expansions of Krishna always remain with Krishna, if those engaged in sadhana siddhi follow in the footsteps of Krishna's Nitya Siddha associates, such sadhana siddhas also can attain Krishna without difficulty. In other words, we are engaged in sadhana bhakti, following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna, waking up early, all these things. Why? Because we fell down from the spiritual world. We voluntarily left Krishna. So there is a way that we can come back to Krishna, beginning with sadhana bhakti, following the rules and regulations of devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. But when we master those rules and regulations, and at the same time begin to develop love for Krishna, at that time the spiritual master will instruct us in raganuga bhakti, spontaneous love for the Lord. And he'll introduce us to residents of Vrindavana who can train us in a particular humor or rasa of pure love of Krishna. So, there are such a thing as Nitya Siddhas, devotees of Krishna who have never fallen down from the spiritual world. And there are other devotees who did fall down from the spiritual world, but they can come back again. But there are those who are attached to bodily concepts of life. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, for example, have very prestigious positions, and thus they have the sense of being very exalted Ishwaras, or controllers. In other words, because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are guna avatars and have exalted positions, they have some small sense of being like Krishna. But the pure devotees who inhabit Vrindavana do not possess any bodily conception. They are fully dedicated to the service of the Lord in sublime affection, or prema, pure love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore recommended, Prema Pamartha Mahan, The highest perfection of life is prema, pure love in relationship with Krishna. And Mother Yasoda appears to be the topmost of devotees who have attained this perfection. So, in their former birth, while Mother Yasoda was very busy with household affairs, the Supreme Lord Krishna observed twin trees known as Yamala Arjuna, which in a former millennium had been the demigod sons of Kuvera. So, what happens? These two boys, because of their extreme misbehavior, are, quote, cursed by Narada Muni. But actually, it's not a curse, it's a benediction. And we're going to see that right now. In their former birth, these two sons, known as Nala Kuvara and Manigriva, were extremely opulent and fortunate. But because of pride and false prestige, they did not care about anyone, and thus Narada Muni cursed them to become trees. So, you have two things here. You have false pride and false prestige. And a devotee gradually overcomes these two things through regulated devotional service and the constant instruction of a pure devotee. Therefore, the first 2 points of knowledge, in the 20 points of knowledge explained in chapter 13, verses 8 to 12, amanitvam, adamitvam. Amanitvam means humility, and adamitvam means freedom from false pride and prestige. So, one who is not humble becomes proud of their material acquisitions, of their knowledge, or of their mystical powers. And one who is not a devotee develops false prestige. They want to be honored for these things. Therefore, they become offensive to other people because of these two things, false pride and false prestige. And they start saying, well, who are you? Who do you think you are? I've done this, I've done that. What have you done? So, as soon as they begin that kind of a narrative, you know that they are overwhelmed with false pride and false prestige. Okay, so then the curse of Narada Muni was actually to help these boys correct their bad behavior. Therefore, it's not considered a curse. And it was actually Narada Muni being merciful to them. It's said that according to our karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. Narada appeared in the garden to give the two sons of Kuvera the seed of devotional service, even though they were intoxicated. Saintly persons know how to bestow mercy upon fallen souls. So that's the point that we should focus on. Although in the beginning Narada Muni appeared very angry and cursed them, at the end, the two demigods, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, were able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, face to face. Thus the curse was ultimately auspicious and brilliant. One has to judge what kind of curse Narada placed upon them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives herein a good example. When a father finds his child deeply asleep, but the child has to take some medicine to cure some disease, the father pinches the child so that the child will get up and take the medicine. In a similar way, Narada Muni cursed Nala Kuvera and Manigriva in order to cure their disease of material blindness. So the lower modes of material nature, passion and ignorance, especially passion, leads people to become more and more involved with material existence. Therefore, human life is meant for subduing the modes of passion and ignorance and advancing in the mode of goodness. Prabhupada says this is real culture. This is real. Culture means how you do things. So that culture that teaches how to diminish lust and passion and greed, that is a culture of spiritual advancement. Excuse me. One must subdue the modes of passion and ignorance. This is culture. In the mode of passion, when one is falsely proud of wealth, one engages his wealth only for three things, namely wine, women, and gambling. We can actually see, especially in this age, that those who have unnecessary riches simply try to enjoy these three things. In Western civilization, these three things are very prominent because of an unnecessary increase of wealth. Narada Muni considered all this in the case of Manigriva and Nala Kuvera because he found in them so much pride in the wealth of their father, Kuvera. Okay, so a devotee is an ocean of mercy, Karanusagar, as they say. So, if a devotee curses someone, that is special mercy on that person, and it has no connotation of meanness or nastiness or enviousness, etc. So, Narada Muni wanted to bring Nala Kuvera and Manigriva to the platform of devotional service through poverty. And thus he cursed them. Such is the mercy of a Vaishnava. Unless one is brought to the Vaishnava platform, one cannot be a good man. Harava Bhaktasya Kuto Mahadgunam. And a Vaishnava never becomes a good man, however severely he is punished. So, now, in the story of Tulsi Devi, there is so-called curse of Srimati Radharani, but that curse is not meant to destroy Vrinda Devi. It's meant to help her achieve the desire she has, and that is to worship Krishna. To become Krishna's wife. And this is explained in Canto 10, Chapter 10, verse number 40, where it says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the great Saint Narada Muni is very merciful. By his curse, he showed the greatest favor to both of you, who were mad after material opulence and who had thus become blind. Although you fell from the higher planet Swarga and became trees, you are most favored by him. I knew of all these incidents from the very beginning. So this is Sukadeva Goswami explaining the infinite mercy of Narada Muni. And Prabhupada explains, it is now confirmed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Krishna speaking. Sukadeva Goswami is describing it. And it is now confirmed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the curse of a devotee is also to be regarded as mercy. As Krishna, God, is all good, a Vaishnava is also all good. Whatever he does is good for everyone. This is explained in the following verse. So, in other words, when Tulsi receives this so-called curse of Srimati Radharani, it's actually a great blessing. Because Radharani understands the internal desire of Tulsi to marry Krishna. So in order to help her do that, she lets her come down to the material world, takes birth in this world. But right from her birth, she has one thought in her mind. She wants to marry Krishna. So we can see how there is a carryover from one life to another of desires, whether they're material desires or spiritual desires. And Tulsi is blessed by Radharani that immediately she remembers, even as a young child, what she wants most in life. And then at one point, when Tulsi's a young teenager, she asks her parents if she can go to the Himalayas and perform austerity for Lord Brahma in order to get Krishna as her husband. And her parents give her that permission. And therefore, she goes and engages in austerities. And at one point, Lord Brahma appears, and she expresses her desire to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma says, this will happen. He said, but first you have to marry someone else. She said, what? I want to marry someone else. He said, no, this is necessary. It's part of the Lord's plan. So who was that someone else? It was another exalted devotee in the spiritual world who became attracted to Tulsi Devi. And that is inappropriate in the spiritual world. So to help him, he was also so-called cursed to fall down into the material world, where he would be able to marry Tulsi, but then he'd be purified of that desire and go back to Godhead by being, he appears in the material world. Brahma convinces Tulsi that she should marry him, and they are married. But he becomes the prototypical abusive husband and doesn't treat Tulsi very nicely. However, Tulsi is the prototype of the absolutely faithful wife, regardless of the treatment of her husband. And the more he becomes egregious or mean in his behavior, the more she is faithful to him. So her husband receives two benedictions when he's born. One is he receives an invincible armor. He's born with it on his body. That as long as he has that armor on, no one can defeat him. And secondly, as long as Tulsi Devi is faithful to him, no one can defeat him. So, with those two benedictions, he thinks he's invincible. And therefore, early on, he begins to challenge the Devatas to battle. And every battle he wins. And it keeps developing to the point where one day he tells his wife, Tulsi, I'm going to go and fight with Lord Shiva because I want to marry his wife, Parvati. And Tulsi is shocked. And she falls down at his feet and begs him, please get this evil thought out of your mind. Parvati is one of the purest women in the whole universe. You should not even think like that. She's completely faithful to her husband, Lord Shiva. And Shiva is the greatest of all the demigods. You shouldn't think like that. But because he's puffed up by the fact that he has this armor and this second blessing, that as long as Tulsi is faithful to him, and he knows that nothing would ever convince Tulsi to be unfaithful to him because she's such an exemplary wife. And it's true. So, therefore, he's more arrogant and more sure of himself because of this. And he doesn't listen to Tulsi, although she begs him. She'll say, I'll do anything you want. Please get this evil thought out of your mind. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. But he doesn't listen to her, and he goes off to fight with Lord Shiva. And then, during that fight, the Devas try everything, but they can't defeat him. So then, what do? Whenever they're in really dire circumstances, they go to Lord Vishnu. Because Lord Vishnu has a planet in the material world. It's called Sweta Dweep. It's in the middle of the ocean of milk. And the demigods can't go to that island, but they can go to the limit of their land before they come to the ocean, and they pray. And what do they pray? They usually recite the Purusha Sukta prayers to attract the attention of the Lord. And the Lord can speak to them. They can hear him speak, but they don't actually see him. And they explain what's going on. They're in big trouble. And the Lord tells them, don't worry. He says, I will appear. And as a Brahmana, and take the armor away from the husband of Tulsi. And later on, I will trick Tulsi to be unfaithful to him, and then you can kill him. So that's exactly what happens. While on the battlefield, a gentle Brahmana appears, and he begs mercy or bhiksudan, donation from the husband of Tulsi. And because he's not a fool, he knows that he should never deny giving charity to a genuine Brahmin. And therefore, he agrees. And his name is Jalandhara. And Jalandhara agrees. And he tears off his armor and gives it to him. And then the Brahmana, who's Krishna, he disappears. And then, but Jalandhara is sure that he can't be defeated as long as Tulsi is faithful to him, and he knows that Tulsi is a completely chaste wife. So he engages in fighting with the Devas. But what does Krishna do? He changes in form to look exactly like Jalandhara and goes to see Tulsi, who's waiting anxiously, praying that her husband doesn't fight with Lord Shiva and doesn't try and kill him. Or defeat him. He can't kill him, but he can defeat him, and then run off with his wife, Parvati. So he comes, and Tulsi thinks her husband has come, because he looks exactly like him. And when she greets him, she falls down at his feet, and so thank God that you've come back. I hope you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And he says, no, I didn't. I realize that you're such a faithful wife that I should listen to what you say. And she's like, wow, I can't believe it. He's such a good husband, And she's so pleased. She washes his feet. She drinks some of the water. She cooks for him. She serves him. And then when everything is finished, she invites him to come and take rest. And while they're taking rest, she wants to be intimate with him, but as soon as they embrace, she realizes this is not my husband. Even though it looks exactly like my husband, there's something different about him. And then she confronts the imitation of her husband and says, "Who are you exactly? I know you're not my husband. I know him very well. You're not acting like him. Who are you?" And then immediately he manifests in his form as Lord Vishnu. And she's shocked. She said, "What has happened here? You forced me to be unfaithful to my husband." Now immediately the demigods are able to defeat Jalandhar, her husband, in battle. And she said, "You are such a stone-hearted person. I curse you to be a stone." And immediately, Lord Vishnu transforms into Shalagram Shila. And then he says, "Well, since you cursed me to be a stone, I curse you to be a plant." And she becomes Tulsi Devi. And when that happens, all the devas appear, Brahma, Indra, Lord Shiva, and they marry Tulsi to Shalagram. Okay. Now, it seems to be a pretty fantastic story, like almost unbelievable, but it's a fact. Now, Shalagram is special. You only find this special stone on the Gandaki River in Nepal. Nowhere else can you find the Shalagram Shila stone. And it's a special stone that is bored by a type of worm that goes inside of it and carves out 108 different carvings on the inside of the stone. They usually look like lotuses or conch shells. And there's 108 different carvings. And you're not allowed to take these stones from the river. But if a genuine Brahmin offers you one, then you're able to worship it. If you take one, or if you buy one, it's actually very inauspicious. But if you receive it from a genuine Brahmin, then you can worship it as non-different than Krishna. And sometimes they break, and when they break open, you see that there's elaborate carvings on the inside, and there's 108 different types. So this is a miraculous, it's not just an ordinary stone, it's a miraculous thing. And Shalagram is worshipped like Krishna himself, but it should only be worshipped by the most strict and best of devotees, because if you make an offense to Shalagram by missing one day or being inattentive or anything like that, then the reaction is very severe. And if you worship Shalagram, it's like worshiping all the deities. So usually in temples that have advanced deity worship, one Brahmin will always be worshiping Shalagram with 16 articles in the morning, while the other Brahmins bathe and dress the deities. Right? And you can travel with Shalagram, and many advanced devotees travel with Shalagram Shila. I know, like Gopal Krishna Maharaj, I think he has 108 Shalagram Shilas. He travels with them everywhere and worships them every morning. Okay, so now this story appears in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Now, there are 18 Puranas. 6 are in the mode of goodness, 6 are in the mode of passion, and 6 are in the mode of ignorance. So it's like a one-stop shopping center for everyone. Depending on what mode you're in, you can choose a Purana. And usually the pure devotees don't give much importance to the Puranas that are in the mode of passion and ignorance. They only read the ones that are in the mode of goodness, like the Vishnu Purana, etc. But these different Puranas are there. They're histories of the world from the beginning of creation up to the Battle of Kurukshetra, I think. However, there are other stories in the Puranas that are different than this. Because Tulsi Devi is a very dear devotee of Krishna. Why would Radharani ever curse her, right? And if she did curse her, it's not a curse. It's actually a benediction, so that Tulsi could reach her goal, and her goal was to marry Krishna. So that's exactly what happens. After Jalandhara is killed, and Tulsi curses Krishna, Krishna curses Tulsi, but again, these are not curses, they're actually benedictions. Now Tulsi can marry Krishna as this exceptional plant. And when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Patram, he says, offer me a leaf, water, fruit, and flower. He specifically means Tulsi leaf. And he also says, I will not accept an offering unless Tulsi leaf is there. on the offering. So now we begin to understand a little more deeply the super excellence of Tulsi's position. And also, as said in the Skanda Purana, Tulsi is auspicious in all respects. Simply by seeing, simply by touching, simply by remembering, simply by praying to, simply by bowing before, simply by hearing about, or simply by sowing this tree, there is always auspiciousness. Anyone who comes in touch with the Tulsi tree in the above-mentioned ways lives eternally in the Vaikuntha world. So now we know why, traditionally in India, in all parts of India, especially South India, in any home of a Brahmana, when you enter the courtyard, you'll see Tulsi Devi. Right? Yeah, and not only Brahmanas, other people also. Everyone will have Tulsi Devi there. And this is true in Bengal and in all parts of India, because from the most ancient times, people understand the special status of Tulsi. What is her special status? Anyone who worships her is blessed with pure bhakti, or pure devotion to Krishna. And above this material world is the eternal spiritual world comprised of millions of Vaikuntha planets. The topmost planet is Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha is Goloka, which is presided by Sri Krishna in his original form. Here resides Vrinda Devi, an intimate associate of an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So now this explains who Tulsi Devi is, or Vrinda Devi, it's another name. She's an expansion of Radharani. Her partial expansion is Tulsi Devi in the Vaikuntha planets, and they are all considered non-different from her as the embodiment. So Tulsi is the Manjari, Vrinda, in the spirit in Goloka Vrindavan. As the embodiment of the Leela Shakti, pastime potency, Vrinda Devi is the organizer of all the transcendental pastimes between Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani. Shri Radha Nilamadava Ki Jai, Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi. In Goloka, everything is animate, chit, meaning conscious and animate, and only for the pleasure of Sri Krishna. Vrinda Devi makes this happen. She is assisted by many confidential associates, which include 2 parrots, and with their help, she makes sure that everything is pleasing to Sri Krishna. She controls how the wind blows, when and where it rains, how the trees bend, and so many other things for the pleasure of the divine couple. 5,000 years ago, when Lord Krishna descended on the earth to do his pastimes, Vrinda Devi created the proper environment for his pastimes in Vrindavana. Millions of years before the descent of Lord Krishna, Vrinda Devi had appeared as the daughter of the pious emperor Kedara. Then she performed penances for 60,000 years. Pleased by her penances, Lord Vishnu gave the benediction that any austerities performed in Vrindavana would be very potent. Thus Vrinda Devi sanctified the place, and it got the name Vrindavana, the forest of Vrinda Devi. Later, Vrinda Devi once again descended here as Tulsi Devi, the daughter of King Kushadvaja, to perform penances and attain perfection here. Vrindavana is completely under the control of Vrinda Devi. Without her mercy, it is not possible to even approach the confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna, even as an audience. Even being allowed into Vrindavana Dhamma indicates that one has received some mercy from Vrinda Devi. In Krishna Lila, she appeared as a young gopi friend of Srimati Radharani. Under the instructions of Purnamasya, or Yogamaya, she would arrange secret meetings between Krishna and Radha. She would also make all the material arrangements like saffron, fruits, flowers, music, etc. for Radha Krishna. Thus she carried on her eternal service in Goloka Vrindavana, in the earthly Vrindavana. So there's Goloka Vrindavana in the spiritual world, and there's Gokula Vrindavana in the material world. In both places, Krishna is having his pastimes. And Vrinda Devi is always assisting. In another pastime, Vrinda Devi offered all the forests of Vrindavana to Srimati Radharani. Thus Radharani is also known as Vrinda Vaneshwari, or the Queen of Vrindavana. So, the Vrindavana is named after her. Vana means forest, and the forests of Vrinda. So she creates all these forests for Krishna's pleasure, and when he's with Radharani and the gopis. Tulsi Devi becomes a plant. Pastimes involving pure devotees are only for the benefit of conditioned souls in the material world. This pastime, given in the Padma Purana and in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, involving Tulsi Devi, reveals this clearly. Once, Tulsi Devi descended as the daughter of King Kushadvaja. She was married to Jalandhara. It is said that Samudra Deva, the demigod controlling the nether regions like Lakshmi Devi, had Lakshmi Devi as a daughter, since she appeared from him at the time of the churning of the ocean, and Jalandhara, one who was born from water. So this gives the origin of Jalandhara. He's the son of Samudra Deva, the demigod. Jalandhara was married to Tulsi Devi and drew strength from her purity and chastity. So firm was her chastity that even Lord Shiva could not defeat Jalandhara in battle, and all the demigods went to Lord Vishnu for help. At this time, Lord Vishnu went to Tulsi Devi, assuming the form of her husband Jalandhara. When Tulsi Devi greeted him, thinking him to be her husband, her chastity was momentarily broken. Taking advantage of this, the demigods killed Jalandhara. When Tulsi Devi understood what happened, Lord Vishnu revealed his original form. And enraged, Tulsi Devi cursed Lord Vishnu for his stone-hearted behavior to become a stone. Honoring his pure devotee, Lord Vishnu accepted this curse and promised to appear as Shalagram Shila in the Gandhika river, now in Nepal. He also gave Tulsi Devi the benediction that she will eternally reside with him as his consort in Vaikuntha. He said that for the benefit of everyone, she will assume the form of a plant, which will be most auspicious for anyone performing devotional service. Thus, devotees never offer anything to Krishna without a tulsi leaf. He always adorns himself with a tulsi garland. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is sometimes envious of the tulsi leaves, which are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord, for they remain fixed there and do not move. Whereas Lakshmi Devi, although stationed by the chest of the Lord, sometimes has to please other devotees who pray to her for her favor. Lakshmi sometimes has to go to satisfy her numerous devotees, but tulsi leaves never forsake their position, and the Lord therefore appreciates the service of the tulsi more than the service of Lakshmi. Tulsi is the source of bhakti. The scriptures are full of pastimes that reveal the potency of Tulsi in developing devotion for the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam talks about this pastime with the four Kumaras, the sons of Lord Brahma, who were very much attached to the impersonal aspect of Godhead. Then the breeze carrying the aroma of Tulsi leaves and saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead entered through the nostrils into the hearts of those sages, the four Kumaras. They experienced a change in both body and mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. In other words, simply by bowing down to the feet of Lord Vishnu and smelling the aroma of the tulsi leaves, the four Kumaras gave up their attachment to impersonal Brahman and became fully dedicated to serving Lord Vishnu. Thus, by simply smelling the fragrance of the tulsi leaves, the four Kumaras became pure devotees of the Lord. In Chaitanya Lila, Sri Advaita Acharya was very much disturbed to see the growth of irreligiosity in this world. Therefore, he decided to call for the personality of Godhead Krishna to descend by worshipping the Lord with tulsi leaves and the water of the Ganges. When Sri Krishna was pleased by this devotion, he descended as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that, the Lord says, offer me with love and devotion a leaf, water, fruit, and flowers. So Advaita Acharya offered a tulsi leaf and Ganges water and prayed ardently that the Lord descend. And he did. He came as Lord Chaitanya to transform the irreligiosity into devotion to Krishna. Yes, Pranay. What was what?
When Tulsi visited Krishna, what was when he told him to what?
Shalagram Shila. Shalagrama Shila. Shila means a rock. Shalagram is the name of Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna was so pleased by the devotion of Advaitacharya offering him tulsi leaf and Ganges water that he descended as Lord Chaitanya. And he started the Sankirtan movement. Haridas Thakur was a great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was able to purify a woman who was addicted to very bad habits. And she was trying to make him fall down. But he purified her by chanting the names of Lord Krishna and worshipping Tulsi. This woman became so elevated by this service that even great Vaishnavas would come to get her mercy. In other words, Haridas Thakur gave her his Tulsi plant, gave her his Bhajan Kutir, where he was chanting. He had a small little hut, and taught her how to worship Tulsi, and instructed her to chant Hare Krishna to Tulsi. Quoting from the Gautamiya Tantra, the following verse: Tulasi dala matrena jalasya kulakenava vikrinite swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsala. Sri Krishna, who is very affectionate toward his devotees, he's called Bhaktavatsala, very affectionate to his devotees, sells himself to a devotee who offers merely a tulsi leaf and a palmful of holy water. So that's exactly what he did for Advaitacharya. In the Nectar devotion, service to Tulsi is glorified as one of the items of devotional service. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3:15-19, it is said that although flowering plants like Mandara, Kunda, Kurabaka, Utpala, Champaka, Arna, Panaga, Nagakeshara, Bakula, Lili, and Parijata are full of transcendental fragrance, they are still conscious of the austerities performed by Tulasi. For Tulasi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with Tulasi leaves. In the Skanda Purana, there's a statement praising Tulsi tree as follows: Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto Tulsi tree, unto the Tulsi tree, which can immediately vanquish volumes of sinful activities. Simply by seeing or touching this tree, one can become relieved of all distresses and diseases. Simply by offering obeisances to and pouring water on the Tulsi tree, one can become freed from the fear of being sent to the court of Yamaraja, the king of death, who punishes the sinful. If one sows a Tulsi tree somewhere, certainly he becomes devoted to Lord Krishna. And when the Tulsi leaves are offered in devotion at the lotus feet of Krishna, there is full development of love of Godhead. So now we see how special Tulsi is to Krishna. And if we have a Tulsi plant in our home and we care for her by offering her water and chanting regularly. One time a gentleman asked me for a Tulsi plant. And I asked him, do you eat meat? He said, yes. I said, it's not a good thing to have Tulsi in your house. He said, why not? I said, because she's a devotee. If you promise me you'll give up eating meat, I'll give you the Tulsi plant. He said, no, I can't do that. I said, then I can't give you the Tulsi plant. So he was like a little upset, but I told him, look, she's a devotee. She's not going to be pleased. On one hand, you're worshiping her. On the other hand, there's meat smell coming in from the kitchen. It's inauspicious. So, one of the most important and prominent personalities in Krishna consciousness movement is Tulsi Devi. She's in the form of a plant, and she purifies and nourishes all who come in contact with her by watering her, circumambulating her, offering her leaves, by chanting her glories, by performing her arti, and simply by remembering her. Therefore, to assist our respected... Therefore, Tulsi is honored by all Vaishnavas. Why is Tulsi so beloved? She arranges for the birds, peacocks, and secluded areas of the forest, flowers, fragrances, and everything related to Shringara Rasa, or pure loving relationship with Krishna. And thus she serves Radha and Krishna. She also makes arrangements for all the gopis to meet with Krishna. She especially serves Srimati Radhika by making beautiful environments and groves for Radha and Krishna to meet. Radha and Krishna are controlled by her. Therefore, if she makes a request to Radha and Krishna on anyone's behalf, telling them, please be merciful to this or that jiva, or soul, make him qualified to serve you, Radha and Krishna will at once hear her. Moreover, she herself has power to make that jiva like herself, meaning an eternal devotee of the Lord. So, we can't see Tulsi Devi in her original form as Vrinda Devi, because she's completely transcendental. Therefore, she comes to this world in the form of Tulsi, this exalted plant. This Tulsi Devi, in the form of a plant, is non-different than Vrinda Devi. And even as a plant, she's not a plant. She can take away all our diseases and problems, and being very merciful, she can make us qualified to serve Radha and Krishna. So, Sri Advaita Acharya read this verse from the Gautamiya Tantra, which we already read. Tulsi dala matrena jalasya kulakenava vikrinite swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsala. Sri Krishna is very affectionate toward his devotee, sells himself to a devotee who offers him merely a tulsi leaf and a palmful of water. So if we want to advance in bhakti or devotional service, we should pay attention to this history of Tulsi Devi. And if you want to serve Krishna, first we should pray to Tulsi Devi. And if you want help in advancing, then we must pray to Tulsi Devi, because she will provide everything necessary so that we can advance. And if we want pure love of Krishna, simply pour water on Tulsi, but not so much water that she will die. You should not water her every day. And the leaves of Tulsi are so sweet. They attract bees to come and hum around her. And so in the spiritual world, Vrinda Devi's father is called Chandrabhanu, and her mother is Fulara Gopi, and her husband is Mahipala. All of them eternally reside in Vrindavana. Vrinda is the most important among all the duties, or messengers, like Vrindarika, Maina, and Murali. Anyway, there's a lot of details about Tulsi Devi. But previously, although it talks about a husband, she was actually a Manjari before being married herself. And okay, so that's some more varied information about her. Tulsi Devi is glorified, and there is the Tulsi Devi or Vrinda Devi Astaka, 8 prayers glorifying her. First of all, she has 8 names. She's called Vrinda Devi, which means she has thousands and thousands of sakis, associate maid servants, working with her and under her. And then she's called Vrindavani. She never leaves Vrindavana. And then she's called Vishwa Pujita. The whole world worships her. And then she's called Vishwa Pavani. She is the sanctifier of the whole world. and she's called Pushpasara. She's the essence of all flowers. And Nandini, she gives happiness to everyone. And Tulsi Devi, she has an incomparable form. And Krishna Jivani, she is the life and soul of Lord Krishna. And in the prayers that glorify her, called the Vrinda Devi Astaka, the 8 prayers that glorify her, the devotee says, O Vrinda Devi, offer my respectful obeisance unto your lotus feet. You are bathed in your own splendor, which defeats the effulgence of lightning and the golden champaka flower. The luster of your transcendental garments is the friend of the lindilya flower. So there's some special meaning to that I don't know what it is, but obviously that's something we can learn about as we go along. So these 8 prayers glorify her, and the 8th prayer says, O Vrinda Devi, I offer my respectful obeisance unto your lotus feet. Those who are devoid of devotion to Lord Hari, who are thrown by their offenses into the waves of lust and other inauspicious qualities, may take shelter of you. O Vrinda Devi, I offer my respectful obeisance to your lotus feet. Let a person who becomes like a bumblebee at the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, and who reads or hears these 8 verses describing the glories of you, eternally reside at Goloka Vrindavana. That person attains devotional service and pure love of Godhead, and all his or her spiritual aspirations become fulfilled. So now we get a little idea how great Tulsi is. She bestows pure devotion to the devotees. Therefore, when Hanuman was looking for Sita in the palace of Ravana, once he had gotten into the palace, he crossed the ocean and got into the palace, he encounters the bedroom of Vibhishan, who's Ravana's brother. And Vibhishan's huge, and and he's a Rakshasa. He looks like something like Ravana, right? But he's shocked because at the entrance of the door to his bedroom, he sees a Tulsi plant. And he said, what is this? Tulsi is only for devotees. How come Tulsi's in front of the bedroom of this Rakshasa, Ravana's brother? And then he thinks, if Tulsi is there, that means he must be a devotee. You see? Because non-devotees don't see the importance of Tulsi. In fact, Vivekananda said, why are the Bengalis worshipping Tulsi? They should worship brinjal, because if you eat brinjal, you become strong. See? So what does that say about Vivekananda? But Hanuman understood that this Ravana's brother, he must be a devotee. And when he does speak to Vibhishan, he realizes that this man is in love with my Lord Ram. And they stay up all night talking about Lord Ram. Right? This is described by Tulsi Das in the Ramcharitmanas. And then Vibhishan tells him where he can find Sita Devi, and so forth. So, okay, we'll stop right there. We're going to continue tomorrow in the auspicious wedding of Tulsi and Shalagram Shila. And we'll explain some more things about glories of Tulsi Devi. And of course, it's a great thing for married couples to sponsor or be part of the wedding ceremony of Tulsi, because part of the ceremony is the Saptapada. So it's a good thing to reinvigorate your vows of marriage by doing the Saptapada following Tulsi and Shalagram tomorrow. Haribol. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.